I want to go home, I remember crying after my mother died. But I didn't have a home anymore, at least not in the way I used to understand that word. Back when I was a kid and she left my father, we stayed in her brother's trailer, then in apartments, and then townhouses. Pull up a chair, I remember her joking with a visitor. We had only lawn furniture to sit on, metal with brown plastic weaving. She and I would trash pick at night from our neighbors. In college and afterwards, I shared apartments with friends. Homeowning was a some-other-day thing. 6 years after Mom was gone, I got a job and decided to buy a house. The first one I saw had lattice work, and the wood floor had planks narrower than I had ever seen. The house was built in 1922, and it stood 2 stories. The front entrance had a staircase with a dark wood banister, and the living room's fireplace had a brass grill. As I walked around inside, I wondered what it would feel like to live here. What would it feel like to breathe it in? The next place I saw was new construction, and it was prefab, ticky-tacky. It had an open concept, the kitchen flowing into the dining room, into the living room. What if someone didn't want to talk to her family while making the spaghetti? If you put an island in the kitchen, does that mean people will swim to it? The old house had a thick, heavy door in between those rooms, separating. I stood in the basement of the prefab house, smelling the new paint, and I burst into tears. I realized I wanted to live in a house that stood outside of me in time, somewhere that was immune to change. And it would be better than the temporary places my mother always had to live, had made sacrifices to live. I could be whole in a house like that. I signed the papers. The truth lay in another pile of papers in the china cabinet. My home of character was ready cut. The parts would come in a truck from the Lewis Company. All one had to do was assemble it. The Lewis plans would tell you how to lay out the pieces on the lawn so that nothing was lost, and you could buy everything from them, even the faucets. They would furnish it and recommend shades of Sherwin-Williams paint. The green of my house is willow, and the name of my house model is the Lenox, a colonial revival. There's another Lenox just a few streets over. What I thought was original never existed. Now, in my ready-cut house, I've never felt as grounded as I do now. My mother's ashes sit on a bookcase. I put a coffee cup on that banister and it made a stain, and it won't come out, no matter what I do.